Sharpton is a polarizing figure, and he acknowledges in the wake of South Carolina, he's even more concerned about his own safety. Reverend Sharpton, I've covered you for about 30 years, and I remember I got the phone call, and when I arrived at the hospital, I believe it was Coney Island Hospital, you were hooked, there were tubes everywhere on your body. You had been stabbed at a protest. And it was me and the late Mike McAlary from the Daily News, and we were able, your family was very, very upset. We were able to visit you briefly, and you were able to say hello, but you were in and out of consciousness a little bit. Do you worry in light of South Carolina? Are you, and you just said that, you know, you wake up every day. Are you worried about your own safety now a bit more?
I'm concerned more than I was before, because now when you got a 21-year-old kid walking up, who would have ever seen him and said that's a killer? And I'm a bit more concerned because my visibility is even higher than it was when I was stabbed. But I'm always conscious of what happened, because just as you said, Dominic, you were one or two reporters that was able to see me immediately. They had to operate on me to make sure it moved away from my lung. The scar's still on my chest. Every morning I shave, I look at that scar. This stuff's real to me. This is not about news and celebrity. This is real to me. And I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe in it, because I know anybody that walks up to me could be asking to shake my hand, asking to take a picture, or trying to blow my brains out. And I know that because it happened to me when a man stuck a knife in my chest.
Why Reverend Sharpton, is your voice cracking?
Because I don't think people understand that I, like anybody, want to see my children grow and be prosperous, and I don't have a death wish, but I have accepted the burden of following what I believe that I was born to do. But at least people should respect the fact that others will go and take the risk they won't take. But I think a lot of people think there's some joy in this. There's some very great moments, but there's a lot more risk than there's great moments.
Reverend Sharpton, let me move on. You and the president, as you've already said, you two are very close alliances. How is history going to judge President Obama?
I think that history will say that in 1980, Ronald Reagan was elected president. He institutionalized what Nixon had to abort and what Barry Goldwater tried to bring in. He brought in the wave of American conservatism, followed that with 8 years. Then behind him, Bush Sr., 4 years, there's 12 years. Then Bill Clinton came in with triangulation, which was the ship will stay going the same way, but he just slowed it down. So we're not going to end affirmative action, we'll amend it, slow it down. We going to the right, going to the right. Remember, Clinton ran on, we're going to move away from the right. Then Clinton's followed, does 8 years, which now we're at 20 years. Then 8 years of George Bush. 28 years of American conservatism. Barack Obama, history will say, was elected and turned the ship back toward progressive and a liberal direction, ending wars, saying we've got to deal with income inequality, saying we've got to give health care to everybody, saying quality education. So there are things in the weeds we may disagree, but no one will deny, and history will say, he's the first one to turn the ship around in almost 3 decades and head back in the direction that Lyndon Johnson and Franklin D. Roosevelt was heading this country, and that is where you care for all your citizens and all of their rights.
Reverend Sharpton, these are tough topics, and I don't mean to go there, but it is required to do so. Do you worry about the safety of President Obama?
I definitely worry about his safety. Because we're in a very dangerous world. And when I look at him, I look at the fact that not only do you have guys that are haters here that guys like me have to worry about, you have terrorists. You have all kinds of forces that would want to get to this president. And then he's protected by Secret Service, that people jump over the wall and get all the way inside the White House. So I'm very concerned about the president. And I give him a lot of credit for being able to deal with it with the ease he seems to deal with it.
As it relates to the presidential race, what do you make of Hillary Clinton? You've known her a very long time.
I think Mrs. Clinton is a very thoughtful and careful public servant. I think that she's methodical in what she does. But I think she's going to have to energize a base vote to win the general election. I think she gets the nomination. She's got to now give people a reason to come out. I think that most will support her, but the question is, can you make them come out? And that's going to be her challenge.
How often do you and Hillary Clinton communicate?
I mean, we from time to time talk. I've not talked to her as nearly as often as I do the president, but I'm not caught up in talking to him because, frankly, I want to see what she's going to do to energize the base. Let me say this. If it would all end right now, history would say in the age of Obama, I was one of the civil rights leaders that was the most high profile in dealing with these issues. That's fine with me. If I don't go to the next president's Christmas party, I've been to the White House enough. I'm more concerned that are we going to continue to do what the president and those of us that supported him did. I've got enough pictures in the White House. I'm not worried about that.
Reverend Sharpton, as I move off of President Obama, what about the criticism, and you've heard it, that, hey, you know, this guy does not engage Republican leadership, and that if he would do so, it would go a long way at improving the relationship.
So let me get this right. For you, an elected senator or an elected governor, to take care of health care for your people, you want somebody to hang out with you, play cards with you? I mean, come on. That's an excuse. I think that President Obama has done a yeoman's job against people that were committed to stopping him. The night he got inaugurated, they were meeting on how they were going to make sure he was a one-term president. It didn't happen. So you want to hang out with guys that are plotting your demise? Unless you have absolutely nothing else to do, it is a waste of time.
Which Republican has the best chance at winning the White House?
I think that Jeb Bush would give her, Mrs. Clinton, a race. And I think that Marco Rubio would play the young face, and he, despite the fact that he blew his first outing on national stage with drinking the water, he's very articulate, has some charisma. One of those two could be a problem. Scott Walker could be a problem. I think that the best thing that happened to Jeb Bush, though, was Donald Trump, because Trump coming in sucks all the air out, so it's almost him against Donald Trump. So the other guys have got to try to figure out, how do I stand out? And sometimes it'll make you do bizarre things. They better hope he's not in the debates, because he can change the whole debate. You gotta remember, I did 2 or 3 dozen debates when I ran for president. I know that stage. Everybody that gets to the big stage are not ready for prime time. That's why in Las Vegas you have the main stage and the lounge. The worst thing in the world, Dominic, is to put a lounge act on the main stage.
I don't mean to laugh, Reverend Sharpton, but I hear you. Do the Republican candidates, have they reached out to you?
Ben Carson came and spoke at National Action Network's convention. I ran into Huckabee. But they don't want my support. At least they want to act like, I've had breakfast with Rand Paul, they want to act like they reach out, but they don't want no support. They got to get through the Republican primaries. I tease all of them and say that I can help you out by endorsing your opponent in the primary.
Rand Paul, is he
We
refreshing?
had a nice breakfast, but I don't know. I think that he is too independent to win the Republican nomination. Very bright guy, though. Takes some stands that are very good.
Let's close with our mayor, who's a close ally of yours. Russell Simmons has apologized. He said some things about the mayor that are not, I can't repeat them on television, but Russell Simmons is upset because he believes Mayor de Blasio has not delivered on police reforms.
I think that when you look at the fact that this mayor has downsized stop and frisk, which he ran on and supported us on, which is why I supported him over Bill Thompson, who was my friend. I think that he has began the reform after 20 years of Giuliani and Bloomberg. And I laughed when Russell, who's a dear friend of mine, I got a lot of respect for, said that. Because Russell and Bloomberg, Bloomberg used to hell, he never called Bloomberg a name, and Bloomberg started stopping frisk. So I was like, what's that all about, Russell? So, you know, we'll see. But I'm glad he apologized. I think that I'd like to see the mayor do even more, but I clearly think he's headed in the right direction. And I clearly think that he didn't deserve to be called a name.
I close this way. People I've sat down with in this same chair, Pat Lynch of the PBA, Ed Mullins of the Sergeants Benevolent Association, you already know what they say and what they think of you. What they have told us repeatedly, Al Sharpton is part of the problem, that if Sharpton did not ignite the racial situation with police, things wouldn't be as bad as they are now.
Well, if you look at the fact that a man was choked to death on tape, saying I can't breathe, family called me, I didn't ignite a problem. I came in to help the family direct the energy to where we would try to solve the problem. Same thing in Ferguson, same thing in every other case that we got involved with. So just like when their members called them, people in the black community that can't afford the kind of support the PBA gives its members. PBA is an institution. You're a policeman, you get in trouble, they provide lawyers, they provide counseling, they provide PR people to get you ready for interview, they provide resources for your family. I provide that for the victims. So what they want is an unfair fight. They want to say, we will back the policeman in question, but we don't need Sharpton or anybody to back the victim. Let them be out there by themselves with no experience and no wherewithal. That's why they say I'm a problem, because we even the playing field of advocacy. Why don't they have a fair fight? You advocate for your member, I'll advocate for who has come to National Action Network. That's why they're mad.
Does Mayor de Blasio see term number 2? His poll numbers among white New Yorkers are down. Shootings are up a little bit. Does he see term 2?
I think he sees term 2. I think that the majority of New Yorkers will, at the end, see that he has so far not done anything that he would not deserve term 2. We gave 3 terms to Bloomberg.
How often do you and Bloomberg talk?
But one thing I give Bloomberg, unlike some of the PBA guys, was mature. I marched on his house about stop and frisk, but we still worked together on education, and he still came to the House of Justice and spoke on King Day. He said, Al and I agree on this, disagree on that. Ed Koch and I, after a while, worked together on things. One of the things you could tell about leaders if they're mature is you learn that people don't have to agree with you on everything, but you can work with people even that you disagree with. Those that are children mentally in the room are those that if they can't have everything their way, they can't be in the room. Those are the people that usually are dismissed. And I think that one of the things that I've tried to do is grow as I led. And a lot of people on my side of the movement never grew up, never got past the name calling. At the end of the day, you be judged by what you got done, not by what name you call somebody.
Reverend Sharpton, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dominic.
Tonight.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
All right.
Up next, Reverend Sharpton had a lot to say about some of the biggest political figures in the country: Hillary Clinton, Jeb Bush, and others. Our political panel is here to weigh in.